Hello and welcome to Warrior Ways Martial Arts and Leadership Development. I'm Mr. Young. Today we're going to be going over Nunchaku Basics. The Nunchuck is a combination tool. It has two rigid items connected by a flexible item. This ends up imparting more energy as we're swinging this around, which makes it a very, very deadly tool. Now, one of the things we want to keep in mind is we want to be able to hold this in many different fashions. One of the ways that I hold it is in my belt on my left side, so I can reach across. I've got the cord end or the chain end down, so I can reach across and take it out of my belt and then start employing it. With this, I can go ahead and strike with it while it's in closed position. I can strike with the end. I can protect and block with it open or even with it in a closed position. And of course, we can go ahead and do our strikes like we normally see done with a nunchuck. Now let's go ahead and go over some basic ideas with this. We're going to go over two figure eight patterns. One is a downward figure eight in the middle, downward, and then the other is upward in the middle. So it's like if I'm striking somebody on the head, I'm striking down at an angle to my hip, raise it up, and I strike down at an angle to my hip, raise it up. To make it more fluid and to make it a true figure eight pattern, we're going to make it a seamless move. So it's like the number 8 on its sides. We're striking down at an angle, down at an angle, down at an angle, down at an angle. If you look at the motion, this could be striking down the head, the hands, or any other such target. Now, from here, I'm going to let it hang down at my side. You'll notice that as I brought it down, it just hung there. Now, if I come down here with a vengeance, then it's going to start spinning around, and I run the risk of hitting myself depending on the angle. Now, from here, after I've let that energy dissipate, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in the reverse direction. So I'm going to strike up underneath the hands, or up underneath the chin, up at an angle to the opposite side. So it's an angle strike upward versus an angle strike downward like we did last time. Now, doing this figure eight spinning pattern, we want to make it smooth. This is a great warding off posture, and we can use this to strike as well. Now I'm going to bring this up to my shoulder, and what we're going to do is we're going to put the two of them together. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do a 3 count on each of these. So we're going to do a downward strike, 1, 2, then up overhead and down to hang at our side. This is a very important move. Make sure you're getting this. Once this is here, then what we're going to do is we're going to strike upward figure eight, 1, 2, and then hang it up on our shoulder. Now we can do a figure eight all day long. When we're ready, we can go ahead and change that, upward figure eight. Then we can go ahead and start putting these together. Do a single 1, 2, down, 1, 2, up, 1, 2, down, 1, 2, up. Keep this in mind, make sure you're practicing this because this will be in the first two strike sets. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do a 3-point combination, sort of strike. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this across to our opposite hip. So we've got this on our right shoulder, we go down to our left hip, bring it across to our right hip, and then put it back up on the left shoulder. You'll see that we're making a triangle across our body. I call this spank, spank, hang up the coat. It's easier to remember that way. So we spank, spank, hang up the coat. Again, spank, spank, hang up the coat, and one more time. Spank, spank, hang up the coat. Now when you're striking, when you're making this impact, we're using the bigger muscles that can take that abuse, but we're also not trying to abuse ourselves. I'm not coming in here and trying to smack myself. I don't want to cause any injury to myself. And I'm using padded foam nunchuck anyways, so I'm in better hands with this. But if I'm using an actual tool, I will cause damage to myself, which actually gives the enemy the advantage over me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow this to stop the motion so I can bring it across, so I can bring it up again, so that then I can be more quick, I can be speedy, and I can go ahead and strike in unsuspecting ways. Now let's put all these together. We're going to go with a downward figure eight. We'll start on our right shoulder. We're going to go downward at an angle to the left, downward at an angle to the right, bring it up from behind, and strike down. Then when it's here on our side, we're going to strike upward at an angle, up at an angle, and hang up the coat. Then we're going to do a 3-point strike. 1, 2, 3. Again, starting at our shoulder, downward 1, downward 2, let it hang. Upward 1, upward 2, let it hang. Spank, spank, hang up the coat. All right, now, to finish our first strike set, what we're going to do is we're going to do a vertical catch. Vertical, straight up and down. We're going to take this from our shoulder. We're going to strike downward at an angle 1, down at an angle 2, and like that first move, we're going to bring it up and over. However, instead of letting it hang on our side, we're going to flip it over and catch it in our hand, hopefully the first time. When we do this, we don't want to have our fingers in the way. If I have my finger in the way and I'm using a wooden nunchuck, and this comes up and over, I run the risk of smacking my finger and not feeling very pleasant, possibly dropping the tool and being unable to use it. So what I do is I take my hand, make it into a duck mouth, and I put the nunchuck as far back in there as I can. I keep my finger and my thumb separated so that if there's a place for the nunchuck to go. If it goes into the middle there, and once I feel that contact, I then squeeze my fingers together, and now I'm holding my nunchuck the way I'd like to. So let's take a look at this. We go down at an angle 1, down at an angle 2, flip it over, and catch it. Keep your fingers out of the way to reduce the injury. If you have to do it in the beginning with a foam nunchuck, that's fine. If you're using wood, you will find out quickly that you do not want to do that. Make sure you're not keeping your finger in there for any length of time. Again, downward figure 8. 1, 2, vertical catch. Again, down, down, vertical catch, catch. Now from here, what we're going to do is we're going to put it all together when our first strike set is done. So, starting on our shoulder, we go downward figure 8. 1, 2, let it hang. Upward figure 8. 1, 2, hang up the coat. Now spank, spank, hang up the coat. Downward figure 8. 1, 2, vertical catch. Now the second strike set is really easy. The last catch is going to be a horizontal catch. So instead of a vertical catch, we're going to do a horizontal catch. Everything else is the same. Let's go ahead and work over the horizontal catch. So we strike across like we're going to spank ourselves, and we bring this up to the side, bring it behind our head, hold our hand level, and catch the nunchuck. Exactly the same idea, but in a different plane. So instead of a vertical plane, we're going to hold it in a horizontal plane. So from our shoulder, we strike at our left hip, we bring it up at an angle around behind our head, catch in a horizontal capacity, and then chop. This is very important. Holding the hand, bring the hand in here and making a fist and pulling it to the hip is a very great style that you can do, a stylistic difference that you can put in there as well. So once again, for that horizontal catch, we strike at that angle, up overhead, horizontal catch, and chop. Now let's put all these together to come up with our sequence number 2. So our strike set number 2, we start again. We start at our shoulder, we go down at an angle. 1, 2, let it hang. Up at an angle. 1, 2, let it hang. Spank, spank, hang up the coat, and then spank, up overhead, horizontal catch, and chop. One more time, then we'll go through both strike sets at one after the other. So we start again at our shoulder, downward figure 8. 1, 2, and 3. Upward figure 8. 1, 2, and 3. Spank, spank, hang up the coat, and then down, up overhead, horizontal catch, and chop. All right, let's do first sequence first. First one starts here at the shoulder, downward figure 8. 1, 2, let it hang. Upward figure 8. 1, 2, let it hang. Spank, spank, hang up the coat. Downward figure 8. 1, 2, vertical catch. Second sequence, we start again on the shoulder, and we go downward figure 8. 1, 2, and let it hang. Upward. 1, 2, hang up the coat. Spank, spank, hang up the coat. Spank, up over the head, horizontal catch, and chop. All right, one last move, something a little bit different to practice with. What I'll have you do is make sure that you have one hand on the nunchuck. Depending on the length of the cord, you may want to be further away from or closer to the end. Now when I hold this nunchuck over the back of my hand with the cord, it fits nice and easy. Now if I take my hand and turn it thumb down, I grab one side, or if I turn the other way, I've got my thumb up. So thumb down if I grab on one side, thumb up if I grab on the other. Now, I've got my thumb up on this side. I'm going to flip this over, the nunchuck, and I'm going to turn my hand down. So I've got thumb down. What I will do is I will then flip that loose end, that low end, up and over, and as I do, I will let go with my hand and then catch the other end. So, taking it in this hand, I flip it over the back of my hand and I grab the other side as it comes in my hand. Now I have a reverse grip. This is great for striking like this other one, and also for doing reverse strikes. Also, from here, I'm going to flip it over the other way, over the back of the hand. This is referred to as a wrist roll. Now I have it in my standard grip that we normally see done with this. Try not to hit yourself. It's a bad habit. Wrist roll, one way. Wrist roll, the opposite way. Practice it once. Try to keep it in your hands. 1 and 2. The more you practice, the better off you will be with this. Have a lot of fun, but be very careful. This is not a toy. We don't like to think of it as a weapon because we do not use it in a weapon capacity, but we rather think of it as a tool, something for our self-defense and to help us understand things and to problem solve better. Thank you very much for joining us here at Warrior Ways Martial Arts and Leadership Development.